Commander Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet grow larger on the screen. His scaled hands gripped the metal rail as he studied the world called Earth. In his 300 years of military service, he had conquered 47 worlds for the Stellar Dominion. This would be number 48. The reptilian commander's yellow eyes moved across the data displays. Earth looked normal. Average size, 1 moon, plenty of water. The species living there called themselves humans. They looked weak compared to the Vorthak. No scales for protection, no claws, no natural weapons at all. "Sir, we have completed our scans," reported his second officer, tapping the control panel with one clawed finger. "The humans have basic nuclear weapons, simple spacecraft, nothing that can threaten our shields." Kethvar nodded. The report matched everything they knew about Earth. The Dominion had been watching this world for 50 years. The humans seemed peaceful. They spent most of their time growing food and building cities. Their wars were small and used primitive weapons. "How many ships do they have in space?" Kethvar asked. 12 small vessels, sir, all near their home planet. Our weapons can destroy them in minutes." The commander felt satisfied. This would be easy. His fleet carried 12 heavy cruisers, each one larger than anything the humans had ever built. The Vorthak ships had energy shields, plasma cannons, and armor that could stop any weapon these primitive beings might use. Kethvar had seen this many times before. A young species would discover space travel. They would think they were ready to join the galaxy. Then the Dominion would arrive. There would be a short fight. The new species would surrender. Then they would become part of the Dominion and pay taxes forever. It was always the same pattern. Fear, then fighting, then surrender, then acceptance. The Vorthak were good at war because they made it simple. Use overwhelming force. Destroy military targets. Demand surrender. Most species were smart enough to give up quickly. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the humans," the communications officer announced. "Put it on the main screen," Kethvar ordered. The display showed a human male in a dark blue uniform. He had short black hair and calm brown eyes. The name displayed below his image read, Captain Yoon, Soul's Pride. "Greetings," Captain Yoon said in clear galactic standard language. "I am Captain Yoon of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system. How may we assist you?" Kethvar was surprised. Most species either attacked immediately or begged for mercy. This human seemed relaxed, almost friendly. The captain showed no fear, even though 12 massive warships had just appeared near his home world. "I am Commander Kethvar of the Stellar Dominion," he replied. "Your world has been selected for integration into our empire. Prepare to receive our terms of surrender." Captain Yoon tilted his head slightly. "I see. May I ask what this integration involves?" "Your species will become citizens of the Dominion. You will pay tribute. You will follow our laws. You will be protected from other threats in the galaxy. And if we refuse, then your military forces will be destroyed. Your cities will be bombed. Your people will suffer. Eventually, you will surrender anyway. It is better to accept now and avoid the damage." Captain Yoon was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking carefully. "I understand. This is a significant decision for our species. Would it be possible to have some time to discuss this with our leaders?" Kethvar almost laughed. The human was being polite about his own conquest. Most species screamed threats or begged for mercy. This one was asking for a meeting. "You have 72 standard hours," Kethvar said. "After that we will begin military operations." "Thank you, Commander. We appreciate your patience. We will contact you soon with our response." The transmission ended. Kethvar stared at the empty screen for a moment. In 3 centuries of conquest, he had never met such a calm enemy. The human had spoken like they were discussing a trade agreement, not a war. "Sir, should we begin moving into attack positions?" his weapons officer asked. "Not yet. Let them have their time to think. It changes nothing." But something felt wrong to Kethvar. His military instincts had kept him alive for 300 years. They were telling him something was different about these humans. He could not identify what it was. Over the next day, the Vorthak fleet monitored human communications. The beings on Earth were very busy. Ships were moving between their cities. Messages were being sent all over the planet. But there were no signs of military preparation, no weapons being moved, no defense systems being activated. "What are they doing down there?" Kethvar asked his intelligence officer. "It appears they are sharing information, sir. Massive data transfers, historical records, cultural files, and something called entertainment media." "Entertainment?" "Yes, sir. Stories, music, and visual recordings. Much of it appears to be about warfare." Kethvar frowned. Why would a species facing conquest spend time sharing stories? It made no sense. Perhaps these humans were even more primitive than the reports suggested. On the second day, more human ships appeared. They came from the outer planets and asteroid mining stations, but they did not form battle groups. Instead, they gathered near the major population centers. The behavior was strange. "Sir, we are detecting unusual activity on the planet's surface," the sensor officer reported. "What kind of activity?" "Mass gatherings in every major city. Millions of humans are meeting in public spaces. They appear to be singing." "Singing?" "Yes, sir. The same songs at the same time, all across the planet." Kethvar felt his scales ripple with unease. In 47 conquests, he had never seen anything like this. Species facing invasion usually panicked. They ran, they hid, they prepared to fight. They did not sing together. On the third day, a new transmission came from Earth. This time it was not Captain Yoon. The human on the screen was an older female wearing a simple white uniform. Her name appeared as Admiral Park. "Commander Kethvar," she said with the same strange calm. "We have considered your offer carefully. Our leaders have met. Our people have voted. We must respectfully decline your generous invitation to join the Stellar Dominion." The words were polite, but they hit Kethvar like a physical blow. In 300 years, no species had ever politely declined conquest. "You understand what this means?" he asked. "Yes, Commander. We understand perfectly. We also want you to understand something about us. We have been studying your species for the same 50 years you have been watching us. We know your history. We know your tactics. We know how you fight wars." Admiral Park's eyes hardened slightly. "But you do not know how we fight wars. You're about to learn something new, Commander. War was nothing new to us. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know every trick, every strategy, every way that war can be fought." She paused, and for the first time, Kethvar saw something in a human's eyes that made his blood run cold. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something much worse. "The difference, Commander, is that when we fight, we do not just want to win. We want to teach our enemies never to threaten us again. Prepare yourself to learn what human warfare really means." The transmission ended, leaving Kethvar staring at a blank screen, feeling afraid for the first time in centuries. The first attack came 6 hours after Admiral Park's transmission ended. Kethvar expected it to come from Earth's small defense fleet. He was wrong. "Sir, multiple contacts approaching from the asteroid belt," the sensor officer shouted. Kethvar looked at the tactical display. Dozens of small objects were moving toward his fleet at high speed. They were too small to be warships, too fast to be cargo vessels. "What are they?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. They appear to be asteroids." "Asteroids do not move in formation," Kethvar growled. As the objects came closer, the truth became clear. The humans had somehow attached engines to large space rocks. They were using asteroids as weapons. "All ships, defensive positions," Kethvar ordered. "Prepare to engage incoming projectiles." The Vorthak fleet's plasma cannons fired in perfect coordination. Most of the flying rocks exploded into harmless dust, but some got through. They slammed into the energy shields of 3 cruisers with massive force. The shields held, but barely. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as power systems strained. "Damage report," Kethvar snapped. "Shield generators at 60% capacity, sir. No hull damage." It was a minor attack, The Vorthak ships were barely scratched, but something about it bothered Kethvar. The humans had turned space junk into weapons in less than 3 days. That showed dangerous creativity. "Sir, we have another problem," the communications officer said. "We are receiving thousands of transmissions from Earth." "What kind of transmissions?" "Everything, sir. Music, poetry, mathematical equations, recipes for food, and jokes." Kethvar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Jokes?" "Yes, sir. They appear to be sending us their entire cultural database, all at once. It is jamming our communication frequencies." The commander felt his scales tighten with anger. The humans were not just fighting back. They were mocking him. No civilized species had ever responded to conquest with comedy. "Filter out the noise and maintain communications with the fleet," he ordered, but the human transmissions kept coming. Soon, Vorthak officers across the fleet were receiving recipes for something called kimchi, mixed with tactical updates. Love songs interrupted weapon system diagnostics. Children's stories replaced navigation data. "Sir, this is interfering with our operations," the tactical officer reported. "We cannot coordinate properly with this much signal noise." Before Kethvar could respond, new contacts appeared on the scanner. This time they came from Earth itself. 12 human vessels approaching, sir. Same configuration as their defense fleet. Kethvar studied the approaching ships. They looked exactly like the weak craft his intelligence had reported. Small, lightly armed, with primitive armor. His fleet could destroy them easily. All weapons, target the lead vessel. Prepare to fire. But as the Vorthak cruisers powered up their plasma cannons, something strange happened. The human ships scattered in all directions. Instead of forming a battle line like proper warships, they spread out randomly. Some flew toward the Vorthak fleet. Others flew away. A few started spinning in circles. "What are they doing?" Kethvar muttered. "Unknown tactical pattern, sir. It does not match any known formation in our database." The human ship in the lead was being piloted by someone called Captain Lee. His vessel flew straight at the largest Vorthak cruiser, ignoring the plasma bolts firing at him. At the last second, his ship rolled sideways and fired a spread of missiles. The missiles were primitive compared to Vorthak weapons. They should have been harmless against military-grade shields. But when they exploded, they did something unexpected. Instead of trying to break through the energy barrier, they covered it with some kind of metallic dust. "Sir, our forward shields are experiencing interference. The human projectiles have created a conductive layer on the shield matrix." "Compensate for it," Kethvar ordered. "We are trying, sir, but the interference is spreading. It appears to be some kind of self-replicating nanomaterial." Kethvar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had created weapons that adapted to Vorthak technology, in real time. During combat, more human ships arrived. These were not military vessels. They appeared to be civilian craft, cargo haulers, mining ships, even passenger transports. But they had been modified with weapons that looked like they were built in scrapyards. A mining ship piloted by Captain Na flew past a Vorthak cruiser and released a cloud of metallic particles. The particles stuck to the alien ship's hull and began generating powerful magnetic fields. The Vorthak vessel's navigation systems went crazy as their instruments were overwhelmed by electromagnetic noise. "Sir, the Dominator reports complete. Sensor failure. They are flying blind." A cargo hauler commanded by Captain Han approached another cruiser. Instead of firing weapons, it opened its cargo bay and released thousands of small objects. They looked like children's toys, colorful, balls and simple robots. "What is the tactical purpose of releasing toys?" the weapons officer asked. The answer came moments later. The toys were not toys. They were micro-drones. They swarmed over the Vorthak ship like angry insects, attaching themselves to weapon systems and sensor arrays. Each drone carried a small, explosive charge. Individually, they were harmless. Together, they began systematically destroying the cruiser's external equipment. "Sir, the Conqueror is reporting multiple system failures. Their weapons are offline." Kethvar watched in growing horror as more human ships arrived. Each one used different tactics. Each one carried weapons that should not have existed. The humans were fighting like no species he had ever encountered. A passenger transport called Busan Express flew directly between two Vorthak cruisers. As it passed, it released a strange gas that reacted with the metal hulls of both ships. The gas created a chemical reaction that began eating through the armor plating. "How are they doing this?" Kethvar demanded. "Our intelligence said they had primitive technology." "Sir, it appears they are using our own technology against us. Somehow they have analyzed the wreckage from our previous battles and reverse-engineered our systems. That is impossible. It would take years of study. Nevertheless, sir, they are using weapons specifically designed to counter our defenses." The battle continued for hours, but it was unlike any battle Kethvar had ever fought. The humans did not try to destroy his ships. Instead, they disabled them. They turned off weapons without breaking them. They jammed communications without destroying the transmitters. They blinded sensors without damaging the equipment. It was as if they wanted to capture the Vorthak fleet intact. Even worse, the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. Kethvar intercepted communications between their ships. The pilots were laughing. They were making jokes while fighting for their lives. Some of them were singing. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human fleet," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The face that appeared on the screen belonged to a young human female. Her name displayed as Commander Kim. She was smiling. "Hello, Commander." "Kethvar, how are you enjoying your visit to our solar system?" "This is warfare, not a social gathering," Kethvar snarled. "Oh, we know it's warfare. We've been fighting wars since before your species discovered fire. The thing is, we've gotten very good at it. We've learned that the best way to win a war is to make sure your enemy never wants to fight you again, Commander." Kim's smile grew wider. "Right now we are demonstrating level 1 human warfare. This is what we call playing around. We are not trying to hurt you. We are just showing you that your technology is not as advanced as you think it is. Level 1? Kethvar felt his blood turn cold. "Oh yes. We have many levels. Would you like to see level 2? That's where we stop being polite and start being creative. Level 3 is where we stop being creative and start being angry. You really do not want to see what happens at level 4. The transmission ended. Kethvar stared at the tactical display. Half of his fleet was disabled. His weapons were offline. His communications were jammed. And the humans were calling this playing around. For the first time in 300 years of conquest, Commander Kethvar began to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not the primitive species his intelligence had described. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that had turned warfare into an art form, and they were just getting started. 3 days after the first engagement, Kethvar realized he was no longer fighting a war. He was trapped in something much worse. "Sir, we have lost contact with the Devastator," his communications officer reported. "That makes 7 ships we cannot reach." Kethvar gripped the command rail tighter. His fleet was falling apart, but not in any way that made sense. The ships were not destroyed. They were not captured. They simply disappeared. "Show me them, why?" "Last known position of the Devastator," he ordered. The tactical display revealed empty space. The heavy cruiser had been there 6 hours ago. Now there was nothing. No debris. No energy signatures. No trace that a massive warship had ever existed in that location. "Sir, incoming transmission from Captain Ryu of the Human Forces." The screen showed a human male wearing what appeared to be a maintenance worker's uniform. He was sitting in what looked like the command center of a Vorthak heavy cruiser. "Good morning, Commander Kethvar," Captain Ryu said cheerfully. "I am calling you from the bridge of your ship Devastator. Beautiful vessel. We are very impressed with the engineering." Kethvar felt his scales turn cold. "What have you done with my crew?" "They are safe and comfortable. We have provided them with food, entertainment, and medical care. They are currently in what you would call detention, but we prefer to think of it as extended shore leave." "How? Did you capture a heavy cruiser with no weapons capable of penetrating our shields?" Captain Ryu smiled. "We did not break your shields, Commander. We turned them off." "That is impossible." "Is it? Your shields work by generating a specific energy frequency. All we had to do was broadcast the exact opposite frequency at the right moment. Your own shields canceled themselves out for exactly 37 seconds. That was enough time for our boarding teams to get inside. Kethvar's mind reeled. The humans had somehow learned to manipulate Vorthak technology better than the Vorthak themselves. But how did you learn our shield frequencies? We asked nicely, Captain Rue replied. Your crew was very helpful once we explained that we did not want to hurt anyone. Apparently most of your soldiers are tired of fighting wars for the Dominion. They were quite willing to discuss technical specifications in exchange for good food and interesting conversation. The transmission ended, leaving Kethvar staring at his remaining fleet. If the humans could capture one ship, they could capture them all. Sir, we are receiving multiple transmissions from across the solar system, the sensor officer announced. From where? Everywhere, sir. The asteroid belt, the outer planets, the moons of the gas giants. There are human installations we never detected. Kethvar studied the new sensor data with growing alarm. The humans had somehow hidden entire military bases throughout their solar system. Bases that were now revealing themselves. How many installations are we detecting? Over 300, sir, and they are all armed. But the weapons these bases carried were unlike anything in Kethvar's experience. Instead of plasma cannons or missile launchers, they appeared to be construction equipment. Sir, the base on Europa is targeting us with what appears to be a mining laser. Mining lasers cannot penetrate military armor, Kethvar said. He was wrong. The beam that struck his flagship was indeed a mining laser. But the humans had modified it in ways that defied logic. Instead of cutting through the hull, it began rearranging the molecular structure of the armor plating. The metal turned soft, then liquid, then began forming new shapes. Sir, our hull is changing. Kethvar watched in horror as his ship's armor began reshaping itself. The humans were not destroying his vessel, they were remodeling it. All remaining ships emergency jump to hyperspace, he ordered. Sir, hyperspace engines are not responding. Something is interfering with our navigation systems. On the screen, a new human face appeared. This one belonged to a young woman wearing an engineer's uniform. Her name tag read Major Seo. Hello, Commander, Major Seo said pleasantly. I hope you do not mind, but we have made some improvements to your ships. We noticed that your hyperspace drives were rather inefficient, so we upgraded them. Upgraded them? Yes. They now require a specific authorization code to function. We have that code, of course. We will be happy to share it with you under the right circumstances. Kethvar realized the full scope of the trap he had fallen into. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had captured it without firing a single shot that was meant to kill. What do you want? He asked. We want to have a conversation, Major Seo replied. A real conversation. About why your people think conquest is acceptable. About whether there might be better ways for species to interact. About what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object. We are the irresistible force, Kethvar said weakly. No, Commander, you were just the first to arrive. We are the immovable object. Over the following days, Kethvar began to understand the true scope of human preparation. They had not been passively waiting for conquest for 50 years. They had been studying every aspect of Vorthak society, technology, and military doctrine. Dr. Choi, a human scientist, explained it during one of their conversations. Your species has conquered 47 worlds using the same basic strategy every time, she said. Show up with overwhelming force. Destroy military resistance. Demand surrender. It works because most species are not prepared for war. And humans are prepared? Commander, we have been at war with each other for our entire history. We know every possible way that conflict can develop. When we learned that aggressive alien species existed, we began preparing for the worst possible scenario, which was a species that viewed war as a simple problem to be solved with superior technology, a species that had never faced an enemy that fought back with pure creativity. Dr. Choi showed him recordings of human military exercises. They were unlike anything Kethvar had seen. Human soldiers trained to fight with broken equipment. They practiced turning everyday objects into weapons. They studied how to win battles when everything went wrong. We do not fight to destroy our enemies, Dr. Choi explained. We fight to teach them that fighting us is a mistake they will never want to make again. Lieutenant Bay, a human tactical officer, demonstrated this philosophy. He showed Kethvar how the humans had captured each Vorthak ship using different methods. Some were boarded by teams that came through the waste disposal systems. Others were disabled by computer viruses transmitted through their own communication equipment. One ship was captured when the humans convinced the crew that they were actually rescuing them from a reactor malfunction that did not exist. Every ship required a different approach, Lieutenant Bay explained. We studied your crews, learned their personalities, found their weaknesses, not to hurt them, but to understand them. This is not warfare, Kethvar protested. This is psychological manipulation. Yes, Lieutenant Bay agreed. That is exactly what it is. We learned long ago that the most effective way to win a war is to convince your enemy that they do not actually want to fight. Colonel 1, the human officer in charge of prisoner management, showed Kethvar how they were treating captured Vorthak crews. The alien soldiers were living in comfortable quarters. They were eating better food than they received on their own ships. They were being entertained with human music, movies, and games. Your soldiers do not hate humans, Colonel 1 observed. They barely know why they are here. Most of them joined the military because it was a job, not because they believed in conquest. Once they understand that we do not want to hurt them, they become quite friendly. You are converting them, Kethvar realized. We are educating them. There is a difference. By the end of the first week, Kethvar understood that he had not encountered a primitive species. He had met a civilization that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. They had learned every lesson that conflict could teach. They knew how to fight with weapons, with words, with ideas, and with pure human stubbornness. Most terrifying of all, they seemed to enjoy the challenge. Commander, Major Seo said during their daily conversation, we want you to understand something important. This is not even close to our full capability. We are being gentle with you because we hope this can end peacefully. And if it cannot? Major, Seo's smile faded slightly. Then you will discover what humans are like when we stop playing games and start taking war seriously. Trust me, Commander. You do not want that to happen. Kethvar was beginning to believe her. 2 weeks into what should have been a simple conquest, Kethvar began to understand that humans did not fight wars the way other species did. They treated warfare like an art project. Sir, we need to discuss the psychological reports, Dr. Vextar, the fleet's medical officer said as he entered Kethvar's quarters. The Vorthak doctor looked exhausted. His scales had lost their healthy green color and turned a sickly gray. His hands shook as he held his data pad. What is the status of the crews? Kethvar asked. That is the problem, sir. They are physically healthy. The humans are taking excellent care of them. But mentally, Dr. Vextar's voice trailed off. Explain. The humans are not torturing our people. They are doing something much worse. They are being kind to them. Kethvar frowned. Kindness is torture? For a military force, yes. Our soldiers were trained to resist pain, threats, and physical hardship. They were not trained to resist friendship, humor, and genuine concern for their well-being. Dr. Vextar showed him the reports. Human guards were playing card games with Vorthak prisoners. Human cooks were learning to prepare traditional Vorthak foods. Human doctors were treating minor injuries that Vorthak military medics had ignored for years. Yesterday, Engineer Kolvan asked if he could stay with the humans permanently. Dr. Vextar reported. He said they treat him better than his own officers do. That is treason. Is it? Or is it common sense? Sir, the humans are showing our people what life could be like in a society that does not revolve around conquest and military discipline. Many of them find it appealing. Kethvar felt a deep chill settle in his bones. The humans were not just capturing his ships. They were capturing the loyalty of his crews. Sir, incoming transmission from the human command. the communications officer announced. The screen showed a new human face. This one belonged to an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. His uniform carried more decorations than the other humans Kethvar had spoken with. "Commander Kethvar, I am General Song of the Earth Defense Force. I believe it is time we had a serious conversation." "I am listening," Kethvar replied. "Good. First, let me explain your current situation. We have captured or disabled 10 of your 12 ships. We have taken 847 of your crew members prisoner. We have studied your technology, learned your tactics, and understand your capabilities. You are no longer a threat to Earth." Kethvar wanted to argue, but he could not. Everything General Song said was true. "However," the human continued, "we are not your enemies. We never wanted this war. You brought it to us. Now we need to decide how it ends." "The Stellar Dominion will send more fleets," Kethvar said. "Yes, they will. And we will be ready for them. The question is whether you want to be part of the solution or part of the problem." General Song leaned forward. "Commander, we have been monitoring your communications with the Dominion. We know they ordered you to conquer Earth or face court-martial. We know you have a family on Vorthak Prime. We know you joined the military because your government offered no other opportunities for advancement." Kethvar felt exposed, as if the human could see directly into his mind. "We also know that you are not a monster," General Song continued. "Your service record shows that you have always tried to minimize civilian casualties. You follow the Dominion's rules of war even when they make your job harder. You are a professional soldier, not a butcher." "What is your point?" "My point is that you have a choice to make. You can continue to serve a government that treats you as expendable, or you can help us create a better solution for both our species." Before Kethvar could respond, alarms began sounding throughout his ship. "Sir, we are detecting a massive hyperspace signature," the sensor officer shouted. "Something very large is approaching." Kethvar looked at the tactical display with growing horror. The signature was too big to be a ship. It was a space station. No, it was bigger than that. "Sir, it appears to be a planet." "A planet cannot travel through hyperspace," Kethvar said. He was wrong. What emerged from hyperspace was indeed a planet, but it had been completely transformed. The entire surface was covered with weapons, shields, and drive systems. It was a mobile fortress the size of a world. "Commander," General Song said calmly, "I would like you to meet our real home. The planet you have been attacking for 2 weeks is actually Mars. We moved our entire civilization to this mobile world 5 years ago when we learned that aggressive aliens were heading our way." Kethvar stared at the impossible sight. The humans had turned an entire planet into a starship. "How?" he whispered. "Engineering," General Song replied, "and a lot of determination. We decided that if someone wanted to threaten our home, we would make sure our home could defend itself." The mobile planet began broadcasting on all frequencies. The transmission was not directed at Kethvar's fleet. It was aimed at Dominion space using communication equipment powerful enough to reach across half the galaxy. "This is Admiral Park of Earth Defense Command," the broadcast began. "We are transmitting this message to all members of the Stellar Dominion. We wish to make our position clear." The image showed Admiral Park standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a facility built into a mountain. Behind her, massive windows revealed the curve of the planet's surface and the stars beyond. "Earth does not seek conflict with any species. We are willing to engage in trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange with all peaceful neighbors. However, any attempt to conquer, subjugate, or threaten human territory will be met with appropriate force." The camera pulled back to show the scale of the command center. It was vast, filled with thousands of humans working at control stations that managed the planet's systems. "To demonstrate our capabilities, we have captured the Vorthak invasion fleet without causing a single fatality. Their crews are safe and well cared for. They will be returned unharmed once the Dominion agrees to negotiate a peaceful resolution to this conflict." Admiral Park's expression hardened. "However, if the Dominion chooses to escalate this situation, they should understand what they will be facing. The planet you are seeing is one of 7 mobile worlds in our defense network. Each one is armed with weapons that can destroy entire star systems, Each one is defended by shields that can withstand supernova-level energy outputs. General Song turned back to Kethvar. Commander, we need you to help us send a message to your government. The age of easy conquest is over. Earth is protected by more than just weapons. We are protected by the knowledge that we can outthink, outbuild and outfight any species that threatens us. But we also prefer not to fight at all. Admiral Park's broadcast continued. We want to be part of a galaxy where different species work together instead of conquering each other. The Dominion can choose to be part of that future, or they can continue to live in the past. Kethvar looked around his bridge at his remaining crew. They were staring at the displays with expressions of awe and terror. They had spent their careers believing that the Vorthak were the most advanced military force in the galaxy. They had been wrong. Commander, General Song said quietly, your choice is simple. Help us build a better galaxy, or watch as everything, crumbles under the weight of human creativity. We would prefer your help. Outside the viewport, the mobile planet Earth slowly rotated, its weapons systems tracking every remaining Vorthak ship with casual precision. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Kethvar realized that he was looking at the future. The question was whether his species would be part of it, or be left behind by it. What do you need me to do? He asked. General Song smiled. Help us teach the galaxy that there is a better way to resolve conflicts than conquest. Help us show them that cooperation is stronger than domination. And if the Dominion refuses to listen? The human's smile faded. Then they will learn why. Humanity has never lost a war we were determined to win. Kethvar believed him. 6 months after the failed invasion of Earth, Commander Kethvar stood in the great assembly hall of the Stellar Dominion. Around him, representatives from hundreds of species listened in stunned silence as he delivered his report. The humans possess military capabilities that exceed our current understanding, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. They have turned warfare into a science that we cannot match. High Admiral Zorthak, the supreme commander of all Dominion forces, leaned forward in his throne. His red scales glittered under the chamber's lights. Commander, you are telling us that a single primitive world defeated the most powerful fleet in our navy? With respect, sir, they are not primitive. Our intelligence was completely wrong. The humans have been preparing for galactic warfare for over 50 years. They have technologies and strategies that we never imagined. Murmurs ran through the assembly. Representatives from dozens of conquered worlds whispered among themselves. Kethvar could see doubt in their eyes. Doubt about the Dominion's power. Doubt about their own forced loyalty. Impossible, High Admiral Zorthak declared. Show us this evidence. Kethvar activated the holographic display. The chamber filled with images from the human conflict. Mobile planets, disabled Vorthak cruisers, smiling human soldiers playing games with captured alien crews. The humans did not destroy our ships, Kethvar explained. They captured them. They did not kill our crews. They convinced them to defect. They did not conquer our territory. They demonstrated that conquest itself is an outdated concept. Defected? The High Admiral's voice was dangerous. Over 400 of my crew members have requested asylum with the humans. They prefer human society to Dominion military service. The whispers in the chamber grew louder. Kethvar could see fear in the eyes of the Dominion leadership. Not fear of human weapons, but fear of human ideas. Sir, if I may continue, Kethvar said. The humans have made an offer. What kind of offer? Complete amnesty for all Dominion forces. Full citizenship for any being who wishes to join human space. Immediate cessation of hostilities in exchange for a non-aggression treaty. High Admiral Zorthak stood up, his massive form towering over the assembly. The Stellar Dominion does not negotiate with inferior species. Sir, they are not
inferior. They are...
Kethvar paused, searching for the right words. They are what we could become. Explain. The humans have built a society based on cooperation instead of conquest. Their military exists to protect, not to expand. Their technology serves to create, not to destroy. They have solved problems that we did not even know existed. Kethvar activated another hologram. This one showed human cities, human art, human families living in peace. They have eliminated poverty, disease, and internal warfare. Their scientists work together instead of competing. Their soldiers fight to protect others instead of expanding territory. They have created the civilization that every species claims to want. And they are willing to share it, a new voice said. Every head in. The chamber turned toward the entrance. A group of humans had entered, led by Admiral Park herself. She walked calmly through the assembly, ignoring the weapons that dozens of guards pointed at her. How did you get here? High Admiral Zorthak demanded. We were invited, Admiral Park replied. Commander Kethavar sent us a message. He asked us to come and speak with you directly. This is a closed session. Not anymore. Admiral Park smiled. Your security is impressive, but not as impressive as you think. We have been monitoring this meeting from the beginning. The High Admiral's scales flushed dark red with rage. Guards, arrest these intruders. Nothing happened. The Dominion soldiers stood motionless, their weapons lowered. I am afraid your guards are busy, Admiral Park said. They are currently enjoying a presentation about human culture being given by my cultural attaché, Dr. Kim. Apparently, they find our food and entertainment quite interesting. Admiral Park walked to the center of the chamber. As she moved, holographic displays appeared around her, showing images of human society. Members of the Stellar Dominion, she began, we come here today with a simple message. The age of conquest is over. Not because we have ended it, but because it has become obsolete. Humans possess superior firepower. High Admiral Zorthak interrupted. That does not make conquest obsolete. Actually, it does. Admiral Park's smile grew wider. You see, we have learned something that you have not. Conquest only works when your enemies want the same things you do. Power, territory, resources. But what happens when you meet a species that wants something different? What do humans want? A voice called from the assembly. Knowledge, friendship, the chance to see what amazing things happen when different species work together instead of fighting each other. Admiral Park gestured and the holograms changed. They now showed scenes from human space. Vorthak engineers working alongside human scientists, alien artists creating beautiful works in human cities, mixed crews exploring unknown regions of the galaxy. This is what we have built in just 6 months, she said. Former Dominion soldiers helping us design better starships, refugee species creating new colonies in human space, scientists from a dozen worlds working together to solve problems that no single species could handle alone. It is a trick, High Admiral Zorthak snarled. A way to weaken the Dominion. The Dominion is weakening itself, Admiral Park replied. How many of your member species are truly loyal? How many stay only because they fear your military? How many would leave tomorrow if they had a better option? The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. We are offering that better option, Admiral Park continued. Not through conquest, but through invitation. Any species, any individual who wants to join a cooperative galactic civilization is welcome in human space. And what happens to the Dominion? Someone asked. That is up to you. You can continue as you are, ruling through fear and force. But you will find yourselves increasingly isolated as more species choose cooperation over conquest. Admiral Park, look directly at High Admiral Zorthak. Or you can choose to evolve. The Dominion could become a partner instead of a conqueror. Your military could protect the innocent instead of expanding territory. Your technology could create instead of destroy. Never, the High Admiral said. The Dominion will not bow to inferior beings. We are not asking you to bow, Admiral Park said gently. We are asking you to grow. She turned to address the entire assembly. War was nothing new to us when we met Commander Kethvar. We had been fighting for thousands of years. We knew every strategy, every tactic, every way that conflict could develop. But we also learned something else. What? We learned that the greatest victory is convincing your enemy that they do not need to be your enemy at all. Admiral Park activated one final hologram. It showed the mobile planet Earth, but now it was surrounded by ships from dozens of species. Human vessels flew alongside former Dominion cruisers. Scientists from across the galaxy worked together in massive research stations. "This is the future we are building," she said. "Not through conquest, but through choice. Not through fear, but through hope. The question is whether you want to be part of it." High Admiral Zorthak looked around the chamber. He could see the doubt in every face. The representatives of conquered worlds were looking at the human displays with obvious longing. Even his own officers seemed uncertain. "Commander Kethvar," the High Admiral said finally, "what is your recommendation?" Kethvar stepped forward. "Sir, I have spent 300 years fighting for the Dominion. I have conquered 47 worlds. I have seen the fear in the eyes of countless species as we destroyed their independence." He paused, looking around the chamber. "I have also spent 6 months with the humans. I have seen what they offer. I have watched former enemies become friends. I have seen what happens when beings work together instead of fighting each other. And, sir, I believe the humans are offering us something we never knew we wanted. They are offering us the chance to be remembered as builders instead of destroyers, as protectors instead of conquerors, as the generation that chose to make the galaxy better instead of simply controlling it." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then slowly representatives began to stand. One by one, they voiced their support for the human proposal. High Admiral Zorthak watched his empire crumble around him. But as he looked at the images of human civilization, he began to realize that something better was taking its place. "Very well," he said finally. "The Stellar Dominion accepts the human offer. Let us see if cooperation truly is stronger than conquest." Admiral Park smiled. "You will not regret this choice." Years later, as Kethvar walked through the gardens of New Vorthak, the first jointly governed human-alien world, he reflected on the strange turn his life had taken. Around him, children from a dozen species played together. Scientists shared discoveries that benefited everyone. Artists created beauty that transcended cultural boundaries. War was still nothing new to humanity, but they had taught the galaxy something more important. They had shown that peace was possible, cooperation was profitable, and friendship was the strongest force in the universe. The age of conquest was over. The age of creation had begun. And it all started because one species had learned that the greatest victory was turning enemies into allies.